For more now on what unfolded before the eyes of the American public live today, we're joined by former Republican Congressman Phil English. Phil, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time here tonight. You spent 14 years as a congressman working in that building. Could you ever imagine seeing what we're seeing?
Uh, I'm not sure I could have imagined it, but I'm outraged by it. I think if people condemn violence in the streets, they can't turn a blind eye to somebody trying to take over the nation's capital. This is simply not acceptable. We are in the process of undergoing a peaceful transfer of power, something that our democracy is known for, is one of the reasons why we have been the wonder of the world in democracy. And for these crowds to try to insert themselves into the process is not an expression of the First Amendment. This is an attempt at mob rule, and it's a terrible mistake. I think that everyone should condemn it, and I think the message has to be delivered that we will not tolerate any crowd trying to take over the nation's capital in the process of what is an essential process of democracy.
Oh, we didn't see the president say anything until he released a short Twitter statement hours after protesters had breached the Capitol. You know, your reaction to that, how long it took Donald Trump to say anything?
The president's response was unacceptable and inadequate. He should have condemned the action. He should not in any way have encouraged it. And he should convey at this point very clearly that this is unacceptable behavior. He did at least express support for the Capitol Police and the other security people. But I have to tell you, downtown Washington is in lockdown because of this. It is one thing to allow for peaceful protests and marches and the delivery of speeches and a disagreement over how the election was handled. It's another thing to physically interfere with the counting of the ballots. This is never going to be acceptable, and anyone who interferes ought to face jail time.
How much of the blame, though, should be in Donald Trump's lap and the lap of members of Congress who have continued to push the narrative that Donald Trump has pushed for months now?
I don't think that Donald Trump disagreeing with the way the election was conducted is what we're talking about here. What we are talking about is the fact that these crowds were encouraged to react badly and then did so and actually physically interposed themselves into the Capitol. I had to leave the Capitol once because it was under terrorist attack in 2001 on 9/11. I do not accept the idea that this is in any way tolerable behavior. And I don't think the president's response has been in any way adequate.
Phil, now when you think back to 9/11 and when they started to usher everyone out of the building, what is that feeling like? Because it has not happened very often at all.
There are a lot of not only members but staff people, public servants who were there for a purpose, who I think deserve to be protected, and to have that particular complex under siege means something very, very fundamental. In the eyes of the world, how we conduct ourselves in these basic functions sets us apart from being a banana republic. This is unacceptable. This is, I believe, something that will be a dark stain. It's also not an opportunity for partisan poses. because a lot of us remember that over the last 4 years, there have been a lot of challenges to the very legitimacy of the last election. This, though, takes it to a different level. And for any Republican or any conservative, this creates a precedent that I think is a very, very bad one. I don't think this is about partisanship. I don't think this is about politics. I think this is about securing the basic operations of the federal government. So I think the president has some explaining to do, and at very least some cleanup. And I think elected officials should be very clear on this. I think it's very much to the credit of Senator Toomey and others that they have made statements that very clearly assert the sanctity of the process.
Just one more question, and that is that when you think about, the process that we go through and the way that we have been able to preserve a peaceful transfer of power, we look at pictures of people running through the Capitol and breaking windows and whatnot. We see people with guns drawn. How much danger do you think, you know better than anyone in Erie, probably, that building, how much danger were the congressional members and their staff in today?
Well, I honestly don't know. However, I can tell you this, having been in the Capitol one time when Tom DeLay's office was attacked by an armed gunman, this is something that sends a thrill of fear through a lot of people who are just doing their jobs in the heart of the democracy. So this is a very serious problem. I don't doubt there are many people who showed up to legitimately express their protest and got sucked into this. That's not the point. The point is you don't encourage mob activities and you don't tolerate an invasion of the space of our government entities at a time when they are doing something as fundamental as tallying presidential votes. There has been every opportunity for the supporters of President Trump to express their disagreement with the election results and to demand further investigations. That's not the issue here. The issue is a mob invading the Capitol. That is not a precedent that we can allow to stand.
Former Congressman Phil English, we appreciate it. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.